it's Shannon from Creative Chaos in Tennessee, and we are back with week 3 of our journey through Wonderland, Alice in Wonderland junk journal. I have all of the graphics over on my Facebook group, which is also Creative Chaos in Tennessee, and they are free. I am using one paid package, and it is by My Porch Prints, the French Country Collection. But you do not have to buy that. You can totally use graphics that's already in there. There's pretty much graphics for everything. If you don't want to use the ones I'm using, you could totally substitute with a different picture if you like it better. I just went with what I liked. And you don't even have to do it in Alice in Wonderland. You could totally do a junk journal following along and use a totally different theme. So, I will link the previous 2 videos below in case you missed those. This was our last set of pages that we did in the last time. And we have our little flip ups and all that here, so I'm excited to show you guys as we continue on. So to start off with, we have these cute pop-up flowers, the singing flowers. Let's see if I can show you guys better. But I created a double pop-up with them, and it's super cute. So we're gonna do that, and it's not hard. And then that's going to leave us this. And I just left these blank so that we can, whenever we come back to embellish and add other things, we can totally put photo mats, journaling spots, ephemera, whatever we want to put in here. So I just left it like that. And then we have the caterpillar here. And this opens up. And this pops up to say, "Who are you?" So there's that, and it does have a pocket here for an insert. And then we have the cat here, and I left room so that if we wanted to put a quote or whatever in there, you could, or you could even put a photo mat. And then we have this page of the tea party, and this is my favorite one. I know y'all wouldn't have guessed that with all the flowers. But I have this part that flips open, and Alice looking through the gate, because you know she looked through the gate into the tea and saw them having a tea party. So then we have this, and this part pops up. And you see her looking through the fence on this side at the tea party. And I picked this Mad Hatter because I just thought he was adorable. But there is a lot of options in the album in the Facebook group if you want to use those. And you could just print it the same size as this and have it correct and use a different one. There's some more some in there AI generated that's more like the Johnny Depp look Mad Hatter, so some of you guys might like that better, but I just thought this little kid version was super cute. And then we have this slider here so that the teapot slides back and forth, and in the little thing I wrote, "A very merry Unbirthday to you." And then all of this closes back up. And then this one closes up. And then, I need to stick this back on. But then this is going to start our next signature, which we'll work on next time. So, to start off with, we are going to work on these flowers. And I left room. I did a double pop-up. And you have your flowers, but you could totally put photo mats here if you wanted. You could even add some little extra pop-ups with more flowers on it if you wanted to. And like I said, even here you could add some photo mats if you wanted. In my book, This one's mine, my prototype book, and I have added extra papers here and there when I needed to change something and didn't want to tear it apart. So mine is super full already, and I still got to fit another signature, so it's having trouble staying on some of them. But that's okay, because it's my book. So, but the one I'm creating, I can tell that I have done a much better job with it because it is a lot thinner. This is the one I'm creating. You also have a chance to win this. You can see this one is, which it don't have the third signature in it, but this one has plenty of room. But you can win this journal once it's finished, but you have to comment on every video in this series. It's a 6-week series, and you have to leave me a comment, and you can get extra entries into winning if you go over to the Facebook group and if you're playing along and you add your photos into that album. Okay, so we're gonna need, there's 4 different flower pictures, and every image I use is in the album on the Facebook group. It has a separate album just for the images I've used. Like I said before, you could totally go through and pick out something different. Like these are from the My Porch Prints collection, but you could use a different background if you wanted to for your flowers. So there's always that option. But I took and picked out 4 different flowers that I AI generated, and they have faces on them. It's kind of a little creepy on some of them, like this one with the eyes, but I also think it's funny because you had all the different flowers that were a little crazy in the movie. And you're gonna need to print these at 5x7, and you need to print 2 sets, but you need to reverse print one of them. So put on mirror image and print a set. You can get 2 per page, and these were printed at 5x7 and fit to frame. So you do want to fit to frame the whole thing. And with this, it still doesn't do all of it. But you have one and then the mirror image. So that's all you need for these flowers. These ones look a little crazy, and they had to have a little help. Like on these, like this one had an eyeball missing. This one's kind of missing. This one's a little rough looking. So all I did was took my pen, my ink pen, and I went in and filled in the eyes to fix them. Because with AI, you never know what you're going to get. And I tried, trust me, to get some really good stuff. And then you're going to need 2 of the full-size sheets of your background. And you're not going to need to print front and back. So you want it double-sided. Because where we're going to make the pop-up so that you don't have white on it. And then this is our piece that we left from last time. This was our extra piece. This is our other side of our page for our book. And we're still going to need this. So I think that's it. You need the singing flowers. And there's 4 different pictures. But you're going to need to print those at 5x7. And then fit to frame. And then you're going to need to do the exact same, but mirror image those 4 at 5x7 fit to frame on the mirror image. And then you need 2 full-size backgrounds, and you need to have them double-sided. And then you just need your extra piece from last time for your other side of the signature. So I'm going to trim all this stuff down and fussy cut all of these flowers. Now you could fussy cut them any way you want. I just kind of did the big groupings of them. And the reason why you want them mirror image is so once you fussy cut, you can just flip them over and have them back to back, since you're going to see both sides of them in your album. Now you don't have to do this. That's just me and my extra. Because here's the flowers. But when you look at it from this side, it also is the same flower. My tip for doing this is once you fussy cut one of them, put just a little bitty spot of removable adhesive, like a tape runner that's removable, or a removable glue dot, and then hold it up in the light and line up the other one on the back side of it. Of course, cut out like the general, like so, half this page. But once you have this fussy cut, you can hold it up in a light because you're able to see through it, which I can't show y'all on here. But you can line it up perfect, and so that all you have to do is cut out around it again, and then you have everything lined up, and then all you have to do is ink it. So I'm going to work on fussy cutting all of this stuff and getting my stuff trimmed down, and then I will be back to show you guys how to create the pop-ups. Have all of my flowers cut out, and I'll try to remember to insert the clip. I did a little quick clip of how I was telling you guys to put these back to back in the light, and you can line them up, and then you can go ahead and just ink both sides at once. That's why you need to use removable dots or tape, so you can take them apart, because we're going to glue them to back, but we're going to put them on the page and glue them back to back. And if you already had them glued together, you wouldn't be able, you would be having to glue part of one of the flowers to the page. So I don't know if, excuse me, I don't know if I went over the supply list for this round of pages, but it's pretty basic that we've already been using. Tape, glue, foam tape, pop dots, whatever you prefer, printer to print your stuff, ink, cardstock, or forget that if you're using a different layout or different collection, scissors, a corner rounder, a ruler, like just a plain old ruler, a penny, as in a penny, extra scraps or cardstock, which we have plenty of that from all the cutting we've done, your scoreboard. You could totally skip the scoreboard and use a ruler, your trimmer. You're going to need a powder tool. I have an anti-static pouch that I use, or some baby powder, the removable glue dots or tape runner, and I think that's it. I have lots of these things in my Amazon store, which is linked below. You totally don't have to get them there, but I would appreciate it if you use my link. I also have some really cute charms and things like that that's Alice in Wonderland themed that I added in there, and I plan on using. So if you, and I know a lot of you guys have already ordered them, that's over in the group, so thank you, thank you, thank you. But they are over there if you're interested. Totally not necessary. So for our pop-up, we are going to need, we're going to use our double-sided paper we've got, and I've already inked it, but you're going to cut it down. You're going to need two pieces that are 4 inches by 8 inches. And then, like I said, I already inked them. And then your other piece from your other paper, because this, how you cut your 8.5 by 11 paper, you can get both of these out of one, and this will be your scrap piece. And then you're going to take your second sheet that you have, the full sheet, and you're going to cut a piece that is 4.5 inches by 8 1/8 inches. So all I do is just trim out my papers, and it makes it the right size. So it's like the 8 1/8 inch, just by trimming off the white lines on the edges. So you just need this one at 4.5 inches, and this is going to be our piece that we attach to, because we needed an extra piece. We needed to be able to attach. You have to have a, I can't think of the words, they're escaping me, a crease to be able to glue into. So that's what this is going to be. And since this is like the second signature and then the third signature, and there's a gap of how we're connecting it into our album, you can't glue it in that because it's too much. So that's why we're creating this, and that's why we ended up with the 2 little extra empty pages. So on your scoreboard, whenever you have your 2 pieces that are 4 by 8, you are just going to score them on the 4 side that you have. You are going to score them, or on the 8, I guess. You're going to score it at 4. So pretty much you're just scoring it in half. So it will be equal. And then on this one, same thing. You're going to score at 4. And then you're going to turn it around, and you are going to score it at 1/2 inch. So this is going to create our little flaps to pop up. So at 4 and then 1/2 inch. And then you're just going to fold on the creases. On the other piece that you have, you're going to take and just score it at 1/2 inch this way. So, and this is just going to give us a little flap so that we can attach it to the other page. So, and then you're just going to fold at the score line. Okay, so once you get to this point and you have everything creased up, you are going to leave it unfolded. Have to think about it for a minute. And then you're going to fold it in half, and then you're going to take your scissors and you're just going to snip the edges at an angle of your 1/2 inch fold. Make sure you're not cutting into your big piece up here. So stay below your mark. And then that's going to give you this, so that you now have your little flaps here. I messed up on my first one whenever I was taking and trying to work out all the logistics of it, and ended up cutting up into this. So ask me how I know. So same thing on this one. You're just going to cut at an angle. So now we have our 2 flaps and our page. Now we're going to need our book. If you haven't attached your second signature, awesome. It'll be a lot easier to do this. But if you have, like I already have, it's perfectly fine. That's how I had my other one, so I worked with it already. But we're going to take this one that has just a 1/2 inch on here, and we're going to attach it right here. And I just wanted a 1/2 page so it would kind of spill over, so that you could still see it if it was open on the next set of pages whenever we start them. So I put the 1 inch strip here to attach it, and you only have about a 1/2 inch attached to your page. So you just want to do it right above that and attach it right here. And I'm going to ink right here since I folded it. And then I just like to use double stick tape. I use double stick tape and glue when I'm attaching all this stuff, because it usually ends up holding so much weight that you definitely want it to hold up well. and not fall apart like my album is. Not from lack of using tape and glue, but just the fact of logistics and how I put it together. And I have so much scrap paper, y'all, from printing and messing up and deciding after I printed it it wasn't going to work and I have to print something else. And yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess. Alright, so I'm going to put this with my flap side facing my page. I'm just going to line it up good. And you can see it just lines right up with this paper that I used. That's coming up a little bit. But that gives us a crease now so that we can put our pop-ups in there. So next for our pop-up, same thing, we're going to put tape on the 1/2 inch score marks, or flaps pretty much, only on one side. Okay, so once you're at this point and you have your tape on, for the first pop-up, you are going to tape it so that it is pointing like this. So it's going to be having your arrow pointing up, but your flaps are on the front facing out. So just pull your tape off. And I like to also add a little bit of glue. You're going to want it pointing, have your point mark up here in your crease. You want it to line it up pretty close. And then you want your edges of the corner pieces to be down here on your edge. So you just kind of line it up and eyeball it. And then you can always just kind of close it up and make sure it's going to work. And voila, and press it down good. So you have your first pop-up done. And I would recommend to give it time to dry after you get these on. I probably needed a little more glue on the edges. You do want to make sure that your flap areas are glued down really good so that it's not going to catch whenever it's opening and closing. Okay, and then you got your second flap, and for it, you are going to put your flaps facing to the back, but your arrow pointing this way. Have your edges come up to the ends, and you're going to make sure that your center crease is with your crease of where your book folds. I'm going to put glue on to make sure I get it all the way out to the edge where the tape isn't, so it'll hold it good. Because we're going to be adding a lot of weight to the top of these, and they move, so you want them to stay down really good. So again, you're going to have your flaps pointing that way, but this pointing this way. So here's pretty much what it's going to look like once you have it attached down. So you can see they kind of line up, and it can open and close. So then what you're going to do is, like I said, I would definitely give this some time to dry before you start attaching all the weight. But you're going to go in and just figure out how you want your flowers. And of course these are going to go back to back, so wherever you decide to put them, you need to attach them down to the page. On some of them further down than others. And then I usually just leave my temporary stuff on there just to pop it on there, and then just that way I can kind of see how it's going to work when I'm opening and closing. so it doesn't cause an issue or get hung. So you can just keep doing that, and then once you kind of know where you want your flowers to be, you can just go in and just hold them and glue them back to back onto the page. So I'm going to go in and add all my flowers, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so here's all the flowers glued on. Look how cute! I absolutely love it. This one turned out a lot better than mine. But you can see it closes up. And if you don't want your flowers hanging out of the side, you can be more mindful of that and glue them down lower so that they're not sticking out. Personally, I don't mind. I like them being at different levels and different heights and things. My one biggest tip for doing this would be make sure all of your edges are glued all the way to the edges, because if not, if you have one little piece that gets stuck or whatever, it will start catching on your page and make it so that it don't want to go in. Like, see how this piece of this tulip is has that little edge on it? Whenever I close it, I mean, I can close it if I pull out on it a little bit and it'll miss it, but if not, it's just catching there. But you want to make sure all your little edges are glued. So, and then you have your piece of the other paper that's going to go on the next set. So this one's going to be the end of that, but that's going to be our first page for our new one. But we're going to save this page, and it's going to get glued onto our next. Alright, so I'm back with our pages. This one's going to be pages 3 and 4 of the third signature. And you're going to start out by needing an Alice that is printed on full size and fit to frame. I picked this one because she was looking that way. If there's another one you like in the album, you could totally use it instead. But I just wanted this one because of the way she was looking. So, the direction she was looking. And then you're going to need this Who Are You? Full page, do not fit to frame. So, you're printing at 8.5 by 11, but don't stretch it to there. And then you're going to need this one, and all you're actually using this one for is to fussy cut out the floral mushrooms and stuff. So this one's full size, not fit to frame. If you preferred this a different one for the little things, all well and good. You could totally pick a different one. And then you're going to need the caterpillar, and you are going to print it at 5 by 7. You're going to need 2 of them, and do not fit to frame, so don't make it big. And someone had issues with printing and wanted to know more sizes of what it is because their printer doesn't work, and I did post a little video clip in the Facebook group that showed what I'm talking about and how my printer settings are set up, because I use an Epson EcoTank, but theirs prints different. So this one from the bottom of the mushroom to the top is roughly about 4 1/16. So if you're trying to resize size-wise. And then Who Are You? You want to print it full frame, fit to frame, full page, and on the back of it, you're going to want to print your background. And this is the background we're going to use. You need 2 of those at full size, fit to the frame. And like I said, this one, you want a 3rd one, but you want this on the back. And this is going to make our pop-up that we're going to do on this page. Okay, so I have all of my things fussy cut now. With the caterpillar, I cut it out twice. I layered it. The top layer of the caterpillar, I doubled up on the foam underneath. And then this hookah, I left flat. I just glued the second piece I'd cut on top of it. And I added just a little bit right here in the smoke. But overall, all I did was just layer it up. And then this is the extra paper I told you guys we're going to use the mushrooms from. And you could totally use a different one if you wanted. And then this one is from our second paper of the background we had cut. I cut this out. And then I have my Alice that I fussy cut. I did take and use my ink just a little bit over her hair since it's more gray looking. I just added a little bit of color to it. And then we have our extra piece. This was from our page before. We're going to add on. And our background piece. I've already inked everything. And then this is our Who Are You? That is the single-sided. And you just want to cut it down small enough so that you could save cutting this until you have your pop-up made if you want to. Because you just pretty much need to make sure that it can fit in here when it's shut. So that's what you're going to do with that. Alright, so to create this, we are going to need 2 pieces. I prefer to cut from the bottom so that it has my floral stuff on there, because you're going to see this side. And you're going to need 2 pieces. So your first piece, the biggest piece, is going to be 4 1/4 by 10 3/4. And your second piece is going to be 3 1/2 by 7. Okay, so you are going to score at 2 9/16 and 8. So 9/16 is just the line right after your 1/2 inch. So at 2 9/16 we're going to score, and then at 8. Okay, and then on your small piece, you are going to score at 1, 2, and 6. Okay, so then you are just going to crease all of your lines. So now we have our pieces all scored. And what you're going to do is the side that has 2, it's going to go out this way. So you're going to take this piece right here, that's just the one flap, and you're going to put glue or tape or whatever you want to use on it. And you are going to put it up in here against this flap. Make sure you don't have it like right on your fold, because you still want it to be able to fold. I know, center it up. And then for the rest of it, you're going to take this part, it's going to flip down, and here's your top flap. So what you're going to do is you're going to put glue or tape or whatever just on the first flap. You're going to fold both flaps back like this. And then you are just going to push this over and you're going to close it. And then this one, of course, will close over. Whenever you open this, then it's going to make that one pop up. So, yay! We get it done. So, pretty much, you only have one flap glued in there and you want this one free. So Super easy, super simple. And then, y'all know how to attach a page. This is going to be our front page, but I'm making this one a pocket. So I am going to just do 3 sides with the tape. Make sure your paper is turned the right way so that you're putting it on correctly, and that your taped side, your front end that's open, is going to be on this side where your page opens. I might have messed up a time or two, and that's how I know. And then we have our pocket now that we can add an insert in if we want. Okay, so then we're going to work on this. Pretty much you can glue this on wherever you want, whether you want it down here or if you want it up here. I ended up putting mine up here in the middle just because of how the caterpillar fell on where I was having to put him on. So I did already put foam on the back of, well, I popped this one up. I'm just going to glue this one on. But all the rest I've already put foam on. And I'm just going to glue that on. This is just the Kids Fun Foam. It's just the Safe Foam tape because it takes a lot when you're doing all these, adding dimension to all these pieces. And you could totally skip this step if you wanted to. I just, if y'all know and y'all watch, you know I really like dimension. So I like to pop everything up whenever I can. I'm going to trim off this a little bit because it's going to be right in the fold of my paper. Alright, so then we're going to add this caterpillar on here. You're just going to go down here. Alright, so then we're going to add this in here so that it pops up. And you could put this any whichever way you want. I did tilt mine, even on my other one, over so that the smoke was coming from the same direction as the caterpillar. I am going to pop this up on one of these little springs that we used once before for Alice in the Bottle. These are just adhesive springs. I picked them up at Hobby Lobby for $2.79. They're very inexpensive, and this comes with 12 in the pack. I also did add them on my Amazon thing. There's actually some metal ones, and since I've played with these, I really like them. I think I will probably end up getting some of the metal ones because I think they would just be a little more heavy duty. Where these are plastic, they do tend to pop off a lot. Or maybe it's just user error. I don't know. Use these, all you do is just pull the little plastic off of them, the paper, and then just stick it to the back. Let's see. Let's put it on here. And then you pull this little paper off. make sure it will close. And you're going to just press it down. So, uh-oh, I got it in the edge too much. So whenever it pops open, you can see it's attached, but it's really neat. I think it's fun. It's just something, a little one of those little extra touches. So then all you're going to do is attach your this on wherever you want to attach it. I glued it opposite. So maybe I'll just put her here. No, I don't like that. Okay. Okay, guys, I had to change things around a little bit, and Alice is in a different spot because I just realized on mine, I glued it the opposite way. So, let me show you what I mean by that. And this one, whenever you open it up, it has the on this side. So I should have glued it to this side, and then that would have left me my space for Alice here. But I don't have that space on this one, which I think it's still okay. And you could totally like glue in some more stuff here if you wanted to, or more words, or whatever. But essentially, she's in a different spot. So, and that's why, because if you want to have the room for her to be over here on this flap, then you need to glue into this side, and then put the double flaps, glue them down here. Okay, so, I'm telling you, did I mention I never made a junk journal before? This is my first one. Okay, so then we have these mushrooms that we fussy cut just to be able to put on this flap. So I'm just going to glue these on. I did pop them up on foam. And ultimately, if you glue these on, if you put foam here, it's not needed. But if you want to hide the back, you could put something else right here if you wanted to. It's not a big deal. But for some people, if you don't want to be able to see that whenever you open, which it's not like a huge eyesore or anything, but you could put another little piece of smoke over it or whatever so that it would be hidden on both sides. I think I kind of actually like this way better with her here, since he was blowing into her face. So, to create my smoke rings, what I did was I just took a little piece of paper and drew some circles on it on the back. So, well, more oval, and then left one in, and I just did them different sizes. So I did like a small, a medium, and a large. Actually, this needs to be a little thinner. You don't need to be a super big circle. And then, let's see, let's do a medium. And then all I did was I took my scissors and I went in and I cut out the centers of them and then cut around. And then I have my 3 smoke rings. So, that is pretty much going to wind up being that page. And I just glued my smoke rings on. Now, you have the other paper that is from this, that was leftovers, that we cut the mushrooms out of. So if you wanted to, you could actually go back in and pop up some of these, make them more dimensional for the flowers. You could even cut it out and pop it all up over here. You could use some of our other scraps that have mushrooms and stuff still on them and fill it in if you wanted to for more decoration. But I figured I would leave enough room so that whenever we're decorating and adding finishing touches, we would have room to add little things. We could do a paper clip closure or some kind of little tie. Not sure yet. I'm just working signature by signature at this point. So that's going to be our second set of pages. Alright, so this is going to be our next set of pages for the Cheshire Cat. So this one's pages 5 and 6 of the third signature. And you're going to need to print out the Cheshire Cat. And there's several on there to choose from. If you would prefer a different one, you could totally use it. But I like the look of this one, so it's the one I picked. But it's going to need to be printed at 5x7. Do not fit to the frame. I have this Alice. Again, there's more Alices you could use. But I picked this one because I liked that she was looking up at the cat in the tree. So I picked this one, and you're going to fussy cut Alice out of it. And you're going to fussy cut the cat and the branch out of this one. And then on this one, you're just going to need the cat's tail and his head to pop up. So then you're going to need 2 of your backgrounds, full size, fit to frame. And on this one, on one of them, you're just going to trim. That's going to be your page. And then on the second one, you're going to fussy cut these mushrooms and this tree. And you don't need this half because we're going to cut some of it off. So you just need part of the tree. And I just left the branches. I did cut them out. Or I didn't really cut them out. I cut out this big one around it. And then I cut the rest off because this is going to be on the background, so it just kind of gives it more of a dimensional look anyways, and it saves yourself all the tiny cutting. Okay, I have everything cut out, but I misspoke. You need 3 background papers because I forgot. In order to make it work with the cat and the tree, you have to trim down your page, and I don't have a whole one left to show you, so hopefully I make sense. But here's the rest of the paper. So for this side, I think yeah, this was coming off of the tree. So, and you can see where I fussy cut the mushrooms out. But this is the rest of your paper. And to make it work, like page-wise, for the cat to be able to sit, you have to trim it down. So you need an extra one of these, and you need to cut on this side. So your pages should be 5 1/4 by 8 1/8, which the 8 1/8 is just the size once you trim your white edges off. So they need to be 5 1/4 wide. And then you'll have both of your pages. So this one is going to attach to your other page. And you can make it a pocket if you want. So that you can have a double, well, you can have a pocket here and then a pocket on this one for an insert. And then we're just going to work on building everything else. So I already put it on foam. You can see I trimmed the tree down so that it would line up here. Alright, so that's how our pages are going to go together. And then this leaves room. We can put words or quotes or whatever you want to. You could even put a photo mat. And then this page will, of course, attach to our next set of pages. Alright, so we're back with our last set of pages. This is for page 7 and 8, which is the tea party. And this is a lot that you're going to be printing, but I will say it's just pick and choose. So I picked what I did because I wanted to add all the little extras, and I wanted the different cups and teapots and things like that. But you could totally pick other things. I think this would be really fun if you had like some teapot or teacup dies or stamps or things like that. You could really personalize it if you didn't want to print things out. I just wanted to create it using the printables because not everyone has dies or like a Cricut or stamps or whatever. And so I wanted it to be available so everyone could play along with what I AI generated. So, with that being said, definitely use whatever you want to use. But, so I picked this teapot. I loved it. And I used the little cakes from it. And I printed it twice. And I also printed this mouse twice. And these were done at 3.5 by 5 and don't fit to frame. So these are kind of smaller. They're 3.5 by 5. So you could print all these on one sheet, but they're just separate because I printed all of mine and for this one at the same time. So they're cut apart. So then I picked these. I printed these at 5 by 7. Didn't fit to frame. These are two different images, so you get different things from them. You could fussy cut all of it if you really wanted a really full table, or you could just do a few. I'm sure it'll all come in handy. You could still use it later on in the next signature. The next signature is going to be dealing with the queen and the cards and all those things to kind of wind it down. So, just FYI. So then I printed this, and I'm just going to use it to fussy cut for the flowers, these big flowers that's here. And then this one's going to be for our next page, starting into the next signature. So that's the only reason why you need that one. You could technically wait until the next one if you wanted to. And then we got the Mad Hatter, printed at 5 by 7, 2 times. Don't fit to frame. And you're just going to fussy cut both of them out. The second one, I fussy cut the hat and the bow tie right here. Just to pop it up and give him some dimension. And then we have this Alice looking through the gate. And I did it so that I could layer her up. And then we have this Alice on the other side of the fence, looking onto the tea party. And I did it twice to pop it up. And then you're going to need 2 of these. We're just using it for the arch. Well, one of them will show the picture, but it's mostly just for the arch. And then this one's going to be our background, and you need 2 of these. Oh, these are printed at full size, but don't fit to frame because you need as much of the arch as possible. And then on this one, you just need 2 backgrounds, full frame, fit to frame. And that's what we're going to have. So, alright, so I think I have everything cut out that I need. We're going to have a few little working parts. So here's my little Mad Hatter. I popped up his hat and his bow tie. And then I have this little mouse. I popped up the mouse and the spout. All of these are just the one layer, so nothing was done to them. Just going to use them as is. And then I have some flowers that I cut out from the background paper that's going to be used in various parts. I have this teapot. This is the one we printed twice, and I did pop up the lid and the spout on it, because this one is going to be, well, you could pick a different one if you want, but this one's going to be what's going to be our moving part. And then I have these flowers I fussy cut. I'll probably end up cutting them down a little bit more, but I've got to get there first. And then I have this, which was our picture we printed twice. So one of them I popped up the fence and Alice on here. And then on this one, on the back of it, you want to cover it with a paper. So I just used a piece of scrap. On mine, it's different because I had the picture of Alice I printed. I had printed on the back of a different one that was scrap that I didn't need. So I had to cover it up. So that's why mine was different on the other one. But I just covered this with a scrap and we'll jazz it up. And then I have this one of Alice. And I did fussy cut down. The only thing is you have to be a little mindful because we are going to be covering this up. Well, we are on the back part where Alice is going to be. So you want to make sure you're not cutting it where the other one's going to show through. And then it does show through down here, but we're going to add some flowers. That's where these flowers come in at. So we can use them to cover stuff up. So we have that. And then I have my background paper. I have this is going to be our next page cut. And then these arches, what I did was I kind of just centered them out. Because, you know, we cut them twice because we're going to glue it back to back. So I did it the first. I just kind of drew a line and curved it the way I wanted. And then I took the other one and flipped it over, because if you do it like this, you're going to have some edges that's showing, because once you flip your paper over, if you do it like this, see what I mean? Like, you're going to have edges because it's not going to line up. That's why you need to do it the opposite way. So they're pretty much the same now. And then I inked them up. And then we're going to put our pictures on there. This is going to get folded down whenever we get going. And then let me tell you, you're going to need your penny that I told you you would need. And then we're going to need multiple pieces of paper here for our working parts. So you also need a scrap of white for the table. So I just used a piece of this that was left over from the cat page because it was just scrap. So we're just going to use the white side of it. And then you're going to need a strip. This is probably, let's see. So this one is about 3/4 of an inch. And this was actually just a scrap off of the arch, like the side of it. All I did was just cut it off and trim the white part off and then fold it in half. And this is going to connect our doorway to the rest of the page. And then you're going to need a piece of scrap to create the little pop-up inside that I'm using scrap once again that was double-sided. You don't have to use double-sided, but it kind of does show. So you would probably prefer to use a double-sided. But this piece for our pop-up that we're going to create needs to be 2 by 6.5. And then we're going to work on scoring this in a second. And then for our slaughter piece, you're going to need 2 pieces, and I just used scrap once again of some of the sides of those papers we cut down, like from the 5x7s. And you're going to need 2 pieces that are 4 by 1 3/4. And if you have an X-Acto knife, this would come in great. Some of you guys might have dies to do the little slaughter thing. I do not, so I just used a pen and my scissors to create the little slaughter. So, first off, let's just start with doing our table. So we have all of our little things together here. But for the table, I just took a piece of white and I tore the edge of it. So it does not have to be perfect. And then I took my corner rounder and I rounded the 2 corners on top, just to give it more of a table appearance. Okay, so then I inked it up. And then I did go in a few spots very lightly, and I'm just still using my ground espresso distress oxide that I've used for the whole journal. And I just dirtied it up a little bit so that it would look more like folds in it. Now you could draw in folds, whatever. We're going to cover up a lot of this, so it's don't got to be super perfect or anything like that. And then, like I said, this is going to just be bent in half. This is going to be an attacher. And then we need to score our papers. So, for your double-sided paper, doesn't matter which side unless it is, whatever you want on top is what's going to mostly show, but the back will show somewhat. So on your long side, you want to score at 2, 3, 5, and 6. So 2, 3, 5, and 6. And then you are just going to fold on those score lines. What you're going to do is just put glue on your little flap here and close it up. And that's going to create our pop-up. Let's go ahead and work on putting this stuff together before we create our slaughter. This page will attach to the rest of our pages we've created. So we're going to work on this page. We're going to open it up. And then on this one, what's going to happen is we're going to take and see where this needs to go. Like, because whenever it folds in, we need it to not hit our seam. So you're just going to I've just kind of eyeballed it. And then I just kind of mark with my fingernail, because you know, I'm super technical. I'm super technical and everything. But what I did was I just used my ruler to line it up of where it's going at the edge of my book. I got stuff flying everywhere. And just made the little, took my my bone folder, score tool, and made a mark so I know where that needs to fold. So then what I did was I just folded it, and I'm going to fold it down, And then what I did was I went ahead, now that I have that score line in there that I can see, I just went ahead and glued my back piece to it. And then once I have that glued together, I just go back where my line was, where I folded, and I'm just going to fold this over. Okay, so then we have that done. So then what we're going to do is add our first photo here on the front. And the great thing about this is the fact that even though this is a different Alice on here, it matches up pretty good with the dress. Like, it literally looks like her dress is just extended, which worked out perfect. I didn't intend for it to happen like that when I was picking all my photos and all that, but it worked out, so I was happy about that. So pretty much what we're going to do is take that little strip we have here, and we're just going to glue this on here. Just kidding. You want your pattern on the outside if you're using scrap so that it'll be pretty and not white. So I'm just going to glue this on. Then you're going to add glue to this one. And then work on lining it up to put it on here. So, and then you could put a photo mat here. You could do journaling. Lots of options on what you could do. You could even put it over this if you didn't want to see this. But I thought it was pretty, and thinking about how she was looking in and then having her up close looking through. So then here's our next one. And glue everything down. And whenever you're gluing all your stuff down for this journal, make sure you do it good, especially around the edges, because with all the moving parts and pages and all that stuff, you don't want stuff to be getting hung on everything. So this is my favorite pages to make. Like, I could think of a lot of other things I could also do, but I really enjoyed this. Okay, so now we have our first flap book type thing, whatever you want to call it. And I'm just going to press this down now that we have it all on here. Alright, then next let's work on our table. So what I did was I laid my table out, and because this is going to go here, so I needed to make sure I had enough room right here with my table, and I'm going to have my pop-up thing. So let's go ahead and just attach this. Again, you could use tape and glue if you wanted to. This one's going to have a little bit of weight on it, plus be interactive of opening and closing, so you might want to use tape and glue. But this tape, this glue, I'm being very generous with it, and it is pretty good about holding. So I'm going to attach this on here. Okay, then we're going to take our box and we're going to glue it in, and you have to glue it up against the edge. So you're only going to glue the back of it and one of the sides. So it's going to be this side, since that's the side we're going to glue to the page. So the back and the side. And you're just going to put this on here. And then definitely give it some time to dry before you start moving it around. And then we're going to work on our table. So you're going to want to cut the table down so that you have enough room here, and because the page split. So I just used my fingernail and made a mark, and then used my trimmer so I can at least cut it straight. Y'all know I'm terrible about using my cutter. I would just much rather use my scissors and cut. We're not going to glue them down though. We need the table fixed so we can do our other part. We have our two pieces here, so we're going to build our slider base. So I made it so that it could be for most of the page. You don't want it to go too far, because if it starts going over in here and it accidentally falls and you're trying to shut it, then it's like getting all gunked up. So what I did was, these are, what did I say they were? 4 by 1 3/4. Like I said, these were just scraps. It's not any special size. It was just what I did for the table. And I don't know if I said the measurements for the table, but it was 8.5 by 3.5. And then, pretty much, I just took a pen and I drew my slot. So, you're going to use your penny to make sure you're not making it too big. And you could totally use a ruler, which is actually what I did. So, you're just going to take your ruler. Put it on inches, so that'll probably help y'all a little bit better. And you're going to want to leave enough room all the way around all 4 edges to put foam tape. So think about that whenever, like how wide your foam tape is or whatever. So I'm going to just start here. Go to about there, so 3 inches roughly my line is. And then I'm going to move it down so that I have, because you're on your penny you're going to put foam tape too, so you're going to want to make sure you have enough room for the penny so that it's not too big for your penny to fall through, but you also need enough room for your foam tape also. So I have narrow foam tape. I don't know how wide this is, but it's the smallest one at the Dollar Tree. And so I'm just going to draw my second line here, and voila. Now the second piece, you're just going to keep it whole because it's going to be your backer piece. So pretty much what I did was, if you have an X-Acto knife, it would be perfect. I don't have one, so I'm just going to use my scissors and cut this out. I have found, even with my other one, it does not have to be perfect. So then what I did next was, I decided where I wanted my slider to be on my table. And you can kind of hold it up to the light, or you can flip it over and look on how much of a distance you want. This is going to all be self-contained, but you need it so that, of course, you can get through it to run it back and forth on your table. So what I did was, I did it like this. And then I just went in and traced out what I already have on there. And then you're going to cut it out. And then if you wanted to, this is all going to line up. I don't know if you could tell on mine or not, but I went in and I wrote "A Very Merry Unbirthday to You" on there. Alright, so now we're ready to build our element. So first off, we're going to start out by going around with foam. You're going to want your penny because you're going to want to put your penny up there. I probably should have cut it down lower more in the center so I'd have more space up here to work. But I'm going to use this wide one for the bottom and the narrow ones for the top and the side. Like I said, you're going to want to make sure your penny has room to move freely. So that it can move freely really well, you want to double up on the tape. So just put another layer on top of that. Alright, so again, penny works in there to go back and forth. So now we are going to want to, I'm going to go ahead and glue this on here. And all you're going to do is line up what you already cut. Alright, so then you're going to want to put your penny in. And you're going to put your foam tape on your penny. Now, my penny is getting stuck a little bit on the edges of the foam. So, I have an anti-static pouch from close to my heart, but all you need is like a powder tool or even baby powder. Now that you have this built, you just go in and do all the edges really good so that it doesn't, your penny don't get stuck, so that it can move really well. So again, you're going to go in, I'm just going to tear a small piece of this foam tape off, hold my penny up here, and I'm just going to put this on the middle of it. And since you doubled up on the back, you want to double up on the front, so you just want to put another piece across the penny. All this does is make it unsticky so that it's not sticking to everything and you've got a good glide with it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my back on now. And it's just going to cover this. Press it on there, and then voila, you got your slider. Ain't that fun? It's just fun. I love it. Okay, so then that creates the issue of you have a table that is 2 foams high. So to counteract that, I'm going to just add some extra down here just to give it more stability. And then we got to pop this one up over here the same amount so that it all flows together. So let's put this down. And then we're going to work on putting this one down. Now before I put those down, I put the Mad Hatter in behind here. And I did pop up the top of his head so that he would just have a little bit more dimension. So this is going to fall about right here. I love it. Alright, so that's that part. And then we have flowers here that get layered up here to pop up that we cut out off of our second. And then you're just going to sprinkle your teacups, all this stuff on your table the way you want to set it. And then these little extra flowers that I cut out, I put right here just to kind of blend the stuff together. And then I added a few of the extra flowers on top of this. So now it's just about decorating it how you want. I use this to help cover up the dress part here we didn't want to see. You can cut off this, add more flowers in. There is more flowers that can be cut off of this paper. You can cut all of these if you want to. You can make some that pops up. Since this is a pop-up, you can add flowers to it so that they pop up when it opens. Lots of possibilities. So let me put all this stuff together and I will be back. Here's our pages put together. And you can see this opens up. And then this one opens up. And we have our pop-up. I filled it in with flowers that I cut apart from the paper. And then I added flowers and a teacup up on our pop-up. And I even put a little bit right here on the side that I cut out. Put some here. And then I have popped up the flowers here. And then I just popped up randomly. You just got to make sure where you put you have to glue these down and glue them good so that this isn't getting caught on them, and even here. But I popped up a few of the other ones. And then I have my paper for the next page on the back. So all of this will fold down like this. So now we need to connect our other pages, and I realized I screwed up. We probably should have printed another whole page for the back and then just glued stuff onto it. I think that's what I did on mine, but I don't remember. But to fix this, I have cut a 1-inch strip from that scrap from this page. And I folded it in half, glued half of it on. And then I'm going to glue the other half on here before we put this one down. So that way it'll give it a little bit more stability, kind of sandwiching it in. So I'm sorry, y'all. I apologize for my mistake. It has taken me hours and hours and hours to come up with this, like all the designs, and then to film it because I have to stop to fussy cut and all that stuff. And I know that if I ever do any type of thing like this again, I will definitely cut 3 or print 3 of everything to have 3 books so that I can create one to figure it out, and then have one to show you guys what we need to work on and work through in the video, and then to have one that I already have fussy cut so that I don't have to stop and take time between every page to cut all the pieces out and all that, because it is super, super time consuming. I have probably already been filming this video for 7+ hours. Of course, I wasn't filming the whole time, but I would film and then I have to stop, fussy cut. But I have worked on this for probably over 7 hours just to film this video. And then I have to edit it and cut it down. So it's super time consuming. So I hope that you guys truly enjoy doing this. I know there's a few of you guys that are playing along and creating with me, and I appreciate you guys so much. I know everything I do probably isn't the right way to do it if you're a junk journaler, because I've never made a junk journal, but I wanted to combine it with a mini album type scrapbook. So it's not always the right way, I guess, of doing things. And I am gluing this whole thing down to this because it's connecting to this page. And of course it has a ton of weight going into it. So I will probably put something heavy on this to attach it down. And let it set overnight before I try to pull it up. Or even take some of my clips and clip it. So that it glues really good. And then you attach this one into your main book just like the other ones. You cut a 1-inch strip, you glue 1/2 inch here, and then also use tape and then put it into your book with the other 1/2 inch to connect it. This one is a little bit chunkier, but it also has lots of dimension. So I'm super excited about what we created today. And I hope that you guys enjoy this as much as I have. It has given me some headaches. This might even would be a good spot once this is dry to even put some flips in, maybe. Some kind of flip out thing, and then you could do different versions of the cat in the tree, or different positions of the cat, and we may end up doing that. I feel like I'm missing something. Caterpillar, cat, I guess that's it. Oh, we did the flowers in the other half of the book. And then we have all of this. This is my favorite one. I absolutely love this. So, once again, I hope that you guys have enjoyed hanging out with me and working on this. All the printables are over on the Facebook group, Creative Chaos in Tennessee, in the albums. I do have a special album that I put the specific graphics that I use in, and I put the sizes underneath it in the description that tells you what size to print and all of those things. There will be a new video next week. We will be creating the last signature in there, and it is going to be Queen of Hearts. And then we will spend another week creating some embellishments to go in here, you know, like the paper clips and things like that. And then the last week will be wrapping everything up, and we will just go through what we've created. So, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you liked it and that it inspired you. And until next time, bye y'all.